Hey guys, another day, another quarantine, right? Please don't forget that your homework for every day isn't due until the start of class time the next day. So, because you're in Math 8, each homework is due at 1:15 p.m. That means you have time the next day to work on it as well if you get a little bit behind. Today we're talking about histograms. Let's say you go out in public and you start asking people how old they are. It's kind of a rude question to ask, but let's say that everyone answers you honestly. So I'm guessing this crowd does not include me. We ask a bunch of people how old they are. Here are the answers we get. So take a minute to write all those numbers down in your notes so that you can reference them for what I'm going to do now. I don't have enough space on this whiteboard, so you're going to need to be able to look at this and the stuff I'm going to draw in the next couple of minutes. When we make a histogram, the first thing we need to do is make a frequency table if we don't have one already. So the frequency table is made up of two parts. We have the bin, I don't know why it's called that, sometimes it's called a bucket, which makes even less sense to me. But we have a bin over here, and over here we count the frequency of times that we have values that show up in those bins. Let me show you what I mean by that. The first rule though So the first thing you want to do when you're making your bins is to look at the range of the data you've been given. Look back at your notes. You'll see that our data ranges from the values of 8 to 54. And that's a pretty big range. We need to split it so that we have enough bins that we see some kind of data that makes sense to us, but not too many because then it gets way too specific and the data doesn't show us much information at all. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's say that we decide to make a bin that is from the ages of, let's say, 0 to 29, and another bin from the values of 30 to 59. Notice that in each case, we follow the rule of bins being the same size. This one goes from 0 to 29, this one goes from 30 to 59. You could not, for example, have a bin that was like, 0 to 29, 30 to 31, and then 32 to 36. That doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to present data accurately. So we have to make sure the bins are the same size every time. Going back to our example, where our bin is from 30 to 59, each of our bin sizes is 30 big. So now let's look back at our data. We're going to go through the data, which I've conveniently arranged for you in ascending order so you don't have to organize it yourself. We'll count how many values fall inside the ranges of 0 to 29. If we go back and look at our previous data, we'll see that we have 11 values that fall inside this bin. If I were actually counting it, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 11 people that you talked to that were between the ages of 0 and 29. I hope you did not talk to any newborn babies. They wouldn't know what to say back. Okay, let's now count the amount of people who are between the ages of 30 and 59. We have only 7. So the reason we don't want to make our bins too small is because we're going to end up with a histogram that looks like this. A histogram also only uses positive x values, but it's split into bins down here. So our x value now becomes our bins. They're split up right next to each other, and the bins touch each other. We'll have here the ages 0 to 29, and here we'll have the ages 30 to 59. The y-axis is for our frequencies. So here we have 11 values in this bin, and we have 7 values in this bin. What we can do is go, let's say, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. If we made our histogram look like this with only 2 bins, it's going to look kind of silly because we have exactly 11 values. So we pick our y value of 11 and we draw our bin to look like that. And then if we draw our other bin, which only has 7 frequencies, so we go to our y value of 7, and we draw our bin like this, it doesn't really show us a good amount of data. It does tell us that there are more younger people than there are older people in this data, but it doesn't give us an accurate image of, well, who might be closer to 0 than they are to 29, who might be more like 5 years old rather than 28. Let's pick different bin values. Going off what I just showed you, you also don't want to make bins too small, because if we make our bins too small, let's say we have a bin of 0 to 1, and 2 to 3, and 4 to 5. This histogram is going to be very long, and it's going to have basically frequencies that just look like this, and this does not give you enough data at all. Okay, this is going to be like, well, there's a few people of a bunch of different ages. That doesn't give us the data that we want. So let's go back and revise our bins again. We're going to do our bin values from 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. From there, we're going to start counting our frequencies. Remember that I'm looking at those data points I had you write down earlier. Let's count our frequencies. Between the values of 0 to 9, we have 3 counts. Between the values of 10 to 19, we have 3, 4, 5 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we make our histogram, we're going to have a better picture of what this looks like. Here's our bin from 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 30. Looking at our frequency chart, we just go ahead and draw those Y values for every bin. So for 0 to 9, we have 3 counts. For 10 to 19, we have 5. So we go to our Y value of 5. 20 to 29, we have values of 3. If you were in a science setting, you might be asked to draw some kind of conclusion about these histograms. So if you look at this one, it looks like you talked to more people who were in your own age range between 10 and 19 than you did to people who were between 20 and 49. Maybe you talked to a few more people who were between the ages of 50 and 59 because you were comfortable with them because they reminded you of your grandparents. I don't know. And of course babies and little kids are kind of cute, so you talk to more of them too. You would be asked to make some sort of analysis based on the histogram that you come up with. Oh, I did not make this well. 40 to 49. Does that even show up on the camera? No.